Hello there and welcome back to another ITH video, where today I'm going to be reviewing this, the Mini Clubman JCW. This Mini is absolutely chuffing brilliant. Okay, so what is a Mini Clubman? Well, the Mini range has expanded quite a lot in recent times. You have the 3-door Mini hatch and now the slightly longer 5-door Mini hatch. You've got the Countryman, which is a sort of sort of a SUV, but not very big. It's a small, medium SUV type thing. And then you've got this, the Clubman, which is a sort of estate, but not quite estate version of the hatchback. Well, I'm glad I cleared all that up. Anyway, let's talk about the styling of this car. Now, this is a bit of a weird one, to be honest. When you stand sort of quite near the front, like the shot you guys have now, it just looks like a normal, ordinary Mini, pretty much, especially when you're sort of more front on. But when you walk around the side, it's like an optical illusion. It's really strange. It just seems to get longer and longer and longer and longer. Honestly, it's just weird. It looks like it's longer than it should be. And weirdly enough, that doesn't actually translate into interior space. So this is the most aggressive, the most powerful, all that kind of stuff. And you can really tell that with this body kit. You've got these massive intakes at the front, and they actually do something as well. They're real. They go in, and there's little radiators and all kinds of things in there. You've got a much more pronounced front splitter. As on all Minis now, you've got these kind of black wheel arch extension bits here. Thankfully, they're not quite as overdone as they are on the new GP model. I'm not a big fan of those. You've got this air intake on the front here, except it's not an intake at all. It's just fake and it's just styling. This JCW version comes on 18-inch gloss black alloys. You can get 19-inch versions, which have got the polished cut section on them, which are nicer. I don't like black alloy wheels. I've said this many times before. I just don't like them. No. Silver, please. But that, I think you can get an option. Anyway, they have some very nice large brakes behind them, and I can tell you they work very well. But yeah, nice big red calipers, JCW on them. Big fan. As with all the Minis in the current range, I mean, they trade very heavily on the Mini heritage. It's the same on all the models. So the Clubman JCW comes in at £34,250. Now, I'm sure lots of you are shouting at the screen saying, that's a huge amount of money for a Mini. Well, yes it is, but cars are more expensive these days, so I'm afraid you have to live with it. Or you could go to botb.com. Love these little segues, because they give away someone's dream car every single week, and you could get this car for under £2 for a ticket. They start at 85p as well. There are over 160 cars to play for. You have to be 16 years old or over to play, and it is a worldwide competition. So why don't you go there after you've watched this video and check them out. But anyway, I'm now going to turn this around to show you the back end. Now around the back of the Clubman, you can see what is its defining point really. The rear hatch, the rear doors are split down the middle. Yeah. Also at the back we have got, on this JCW model, nice twin big pipes which make a rather fruity noise. A sort of diffuser. I'm not really sure if it's real or not, but it looks all right. And of course we have these rear lights which have been upgraded on the latest facelifted model to have these. They're a bit like a Union flag, but not. You sort of have a bit of a Union thing going on there, which, I mean, they look pretty good. I quite like them. When they're lit up at night, they look pretty funky. Quite a fan of those. You'll notice Clubman has got 7 letters in the name, and there's a split down the middle, which means you've got club on this side, man on that side, which means it's not even, and frankly, it makes my teeth itch. Okay, so in here it's very typical Mini style. You have the central infotainment system, I guess, here, which has got the LEDs around the outside and all this kind of stuff. Screen in the middle, and then you've got a row of toggles, including the very cool start-stop toggle button switch thing. And then you've got your sport button, traction control off, auto stop start off, and you can turn on or off your parking sensors. You've got a rather large gear lever, gear selector I should say, and this is the control unit for that system there. In front of you, you've got sort of 1.5-ish dials, which do your speed and your revs, and there is a fuel gauge to the right of that. Now, this John Cooper Works model comes with the Navigation Plus package. That comes with your little navigation screen here within this infotainment system. You get Apple CarPlay, loads of, they call them connected systems. I mean, it's lots of things that connect you to other things. It also comes with the Comfort Plus pack, which is, he says, looking down the list, we've got park assist, we have reversing camera, heated front seats, folding heated mirrors, this armrest, automatic climate control, all that kind of jazz, which is all quite good. And speaking of that Navigation Plus system that's on here, yeah, this is previous generation BMW tech in here, and for me it shows. The screen is actually really quite small, but I mean, fair enough, I use Apple CarPlay as soon as I get in the car. One good thing, it connects wirelessly via CarPlay, you don't have to plug it in. CarPlay feels very small compared to how it is, say, on my Leon Cupra, and even that is a fairly old system. So yeah, if you like it, you like it. I'm not an enormous fan though. On this particular car, this head-up display, now it's another of these kind of sticky-uppy, flip-up type reflecting on a piece of glass ones, not the windscreen like it is on the higher end systems. This is a £500 option, and to be honest, as it was on other cars I've tried with this, I wouldn't bother, to be honest. It's yeah, they're not great. When they're on the windscreen, they're much more out of the way and a lot more subtle. This, it's a bit obvious the way it sits there. Now, talking about practicality. Okay, so start off with these seats. Now, these are very nice seats, big, wide wings on them to keep you nice and secure around the corners. And I love the sort of semi-quilted Alcantara on them, red trim as well. But I've done quite a few miles in this car, and they are really quite firm, these seats. And I've got to say, I didn't find them at all comfortable over a long distance. Right, so in the back, we're going to start off with the usual Tim test, and yeah, it's not faring well currently. Now, as ever, this is a very unusual test. I am 6'3" tall, and me sitting behind me is not working in this car. Now, that's an unusual test. Shorter people will be fine. Now, of course, if you had younger kids, younger family in the back with somebody who isn't 6'3" or is 6'3", you'll be fine. But don't expect that just because it's a longer Mini that it's going to have acres of legroom in the back, because I'm afraid it hasn't. And down here you have actually got 2 USB-C ports, which is quite novel for charging things. But yeah, the final point in practicality is back there. When you open this door, and you can do so via the fob here, so I shall do it. There's some pretty hefty struts here, and this door flings open with quite some force. Same one on this side. You can't do it from here though. And to be honest, I'm just going to close that one. This here door, if you've got young children, they have a tendency to hang around the back of your car when you're putting stuff in and whatever. Honestly, that could really whack your child in the face or the head or something. I mean, I've got a 7-year-old, and that would be properly the right height to knock her into the road or something. So yeah, not great for me. But when you open the boot, well, I'd like to say that things get a bit better, but frankly they don't, because in here there is 360 litres of space, which isn't very much. That is actually 10 litres less than in a Mercedes A35, just the hatchback. So it looks like an estate. It's got some quite odd doors, but it's not actually very practical. Now, there is under here a bigger area as well, which is quite deep, and you can put quite a lot of stuff in there. But again, that's pretty awkward to use. You're not going to put a great deal of stuff in there. And yeah, you're left with this space, which isn't that big. Okay, so under this rather funky clamshell bonnet here, which has got the holes for the headlights in it, which I really quite like, we have got a 2-litre 4-cylinder turbocharged engine with 302 brake horsepower and 450 newton meters of torque. Now that drives through a ZF 8-speed automatic gearbox to all 4 wheels. Now that sounds familiar from somewhere, it's because it should be. Because this is exactly the same drivetrain as you get in the new BMW M135i, which is very interesting. That car has got a huge amount of praise. So let's see what it does here. Now, 0 to 60, 2 miles an hour, comes up in 4.9 seconds. As with anything performance-y from the BMW/Mini stable, it tops out at 155 miles an hour. And it does about, well, it's supposed to do a combined 38.2 mpg. And finally, it pumps out 169 grams per kilometre of CO2. Now, the ride in this car is very firm. That's one of the first things you notice. When you're driving along, even in normal mode, it is quite busy. But when you put it into sport, that kind of all starts to make sense. Because when you get to a string of corners like I'm at now, this Mini is absolutely chuffing brilliant. There's that speed I was telling you about. Way there. Hello. It gives you an absolute thump in the back when you change gears. And you can see this thing is absolutely shifting right now. It genuinely has surprised me. It turns into a completely different car when you put everything in sport mode. As you can probably hear, it sounds fantastic as well. Well, it sounds as good as a 2-litre 4-cylinder turbo can sound. They're never going to sound amazing, but this does sound really good. It's not overdone on the pops and bangs either. When you really start to press on in this JCW, which, I mean, it will do when asked, you find a really playful aspect to the handling, which I mean, I just honestly, I wasn't expecting at all. I mean, obviously being all-wheel drive, there's a huge amount of grip, and normally a huge amount of grip means it's not going to be that much fun. But this really is masses of fun. I mean, I'm having an absolute hoot throwing this thing around today. But just being a bit more sensible as well, I'll take it out of sport mode, gearbox out of sport mode, and everything relaxed, and it's back to just being a normal Mini, normal hatchback. Slightly busy ride, as I said, but yeah, this thing is absolutely bipolar. It's bonkers when you want it to be, but a comfortable, practical car when you don't. One big issue I have with this car is that split rear door when you're driving. Now, obviously from the back, when you normally notice it, it's just like a thin split, but of course there's bracing and everything around that. So when I look in the rearview mirror now, I see a fairly small post box of a rear window anyway, because it's not that big, but it's got a big, probably 4-inch thick black strip down the middle that you can't see out of, and it is slap bang in the middle of your view as well. So exactly where you'd be seeing other cars, I don't know, police approaching from behind or something on a motorway, there's a big black bar there. I mean, for me, that rear door thing really is just, it's style over substance. Again, if it was just a normal hatchback, it would be much easier, much better to use, and you wouldn't get that real issue in your rearview mirror as you're driving. Right, so to summarise this Clubman JCW, you've got to really think about the kind of rivals that it has. And I know there's cars like the current Golf and Golf R, and you've got the Leon Cupra R Estate, things like that. For me, if you're talking about a hot hatchback that's got a slightly estate-ish body instead, that isn't actually that practical, you really should look at the Mercedes CLA 35 shooting brake. It's about £5 more, and it's a bit bigger and a bit heavier, so performance is maybe slightly dulled. But that's certainly one to look at if Mercs are your cup of tea. Me personally, I would actually be looking at saving my money for the Mark 8 Golf R, which is out in the summer, because that's got more power. It's going to be 320, 330 maybe horsepower, new tech, new chassis in there, and if the old one's anything to go by, it is going to be absolutely brilliant. But you know, if you chose to buy the Clubman JCW, I could completely and utterly understand that. It is quirky, it is special, it's different, and I think quirkiness should always be celebrated in the car world. Now, thank you very much for watching. That's the end of the review. But I have to say another quick thank you to BOTB for making these videos possible. They gave away someone's dream car every single week, so please do go and check them out. But for now, keep your eyes peeled for more videos to come in the future. Thank you very much. Bye-bye. Okay, so to start with, what is a Mini Clubman? Okay, well, the Mini range has expanded quite a lot of recent time. No, start again. As with all modern word vomit. Done.